A lot of people seem to want Gohan to be the main character of Dragon Ball, or to have started a new generation of Dragon Ball after his win during the Cell arc and the death of Goku. While I can understand the sentiment, the biggest thing holding Gohan back from being the main character of Dragon Ball was and is his outlook on fighting. Alongside his personal goals in life, a lot of people seem to think that it's ChiChi forcing Gohan to be a scholar exclusively, but Gohan himself chooses to be a scholar, and that choice has always been presented as his own. ChiChi simply goes overboard with her pressuring him to study and to do nothing else. So today, I ask, what if Gohan wasn't purely interested in scholarhood? What if Gohan was more like his father, Goku? Before we get deeper into that, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button if you want more Dragon Ball content, and also check out my second channel at youtube.com/Carthu, where I live stream Monday through Friday, and my Twitch channel as well, which is also Carthu, and I stream there Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I hope to see you guys there. The first thing I'd like to get across is that Gohan still has an interest in being a scholar, but ever since he saw his dad train, he became obsessed with martial arts and fighting. While being made to study, Gohan also has begun to mimic the movements of his father when his mother wasn't near him. Eventually, Gohan is caught training in his bedroom, but it wasn't ChiChi that walked in on the boy practicing martial arts, it was Goku. Gohan asked his father to not tell ChiChi, and Goku tells Gohan that it'd be their secret. Going forward, Goku would purposefully train right outside of Gohan's window so he could mimic his father's movements while his mother wasn't in his room, and this proved fairly successful. One day, Goku performed a ki outside, launching out a burst of his aura with a powerful scream. While not enough to damage anything nearby their home, the ki was still quite notable. Much like how Goku was able to use the Kamehameha after only seeing the technique once, Gohan was able to charge his own ki and readied himself to copy what he had just seen. But unlike Goku's first Kamehameha, Goku could sense that this wouldn't be good. Goku quickly jumps in Gohan's window and stops him before he can destroy the whole house with his ki. A drop of sweat begins to fall down Goku's face as just the buildup of ki was enough to wildly shake Mount Paozu. ChiChi runs upstairs to make sure Gohan was alright after she felt the shaking, but was surprised to find Goku was already in the room. Goku says he must have been training a bit too hard outside and shook the house, so he wanted to make sure Gohan didn't get hurt from that mistake. Goku turns around and kneels to Gohan and winks at him, asking if he's alright. Gohan says he's fine, and ChiChi proceeds to scold Goku for being too reckless, but she knows he has to keep up his training in case Piccolo ever returns, so she's willing to let it slide this time so long as he makes sure it doesn't happen again. ChiChi leaves the room, and Goku looks to Gohan and tells him that control is the first thing he needs to master. Goku jumps back outside through the window, and Gohan decides to take the rest of the day off from training and focus on his studies. A few months pass, and Gohan has started to gain a grasp of his own power. He could now perform a ki without releasing too much power to destroy anything nearby, though he could only train them when ChiChi left home to get groceries due to the scream required. During these brief times alone, Goku and Gohan would train together outside where Gohan could use his ki without risk of damaging their home, and he could even do light sparring with Goku to further his skills. This routine continues for a couple more months until Goku receives an invitation to Master Roshi's Island, where the Z-Fighters are holding a reunion that is interrupted by the arrival of Gohan's long-lost uncle, Raditz. This plays out the same as it had originally for the most part until Raditz attempts to kidnap Gohan, who tries to fight back against the aggressor. Despite his training with his father, Gohan wasn't fully able to control all the power within himself, and was thusly not strong enough to stop himself from being knocked out and kidnapped. This leads to the iconic Goku and Piccolo team-up, where they do their best to defeat Raditz, and while Goku is slightly stronger from having a sparring partner in the form of Gohan, he was still no match for his older brother. Eventually, the fight gets to the point of Goku grabbing Raditz's tail, and Goku is tricked into releasing it before Piccolo can finish the estranged brother of Goku. Raditz stomps on Goku repeatedly and meticulously to slowly torture and eventually kill his brother. Usually, Goku's screams are enough to awaken a fire within Gohan's heart, releasing anger and power unmatched by anyone else on the battlefield, but he was unconscious this time. Before Gohan could even awaken, his father is killed, his life force snuffed out very prematurely. Raditz has his sights on Piccolo, who quickly regrew his arm to take on Raditz since conserving stamina at this point wouldn't help him. As Piccolo is being beaten down by Raditz, the unconscious Gohan can tell that something is wrong. His father taught him how to sense ki, and his father's ki in particular had disappeared from the battlefield. Even unconscious, his own instincts were screaming at him to wake up. Something's amiss. Raditz's spaceship explodes, and out comes an enraged Gohan, stronger than anyone else on the battlefield by far. His eyes darted around, not worried about Raditz or Piccolo. He only wanted to see one person, his father. Once Gohan's eyes settle on the lifeless body of Goku on the ground, he snaps. Raditz's scouter begins to beep rapidly. The original timid Gohan was able to muster a power level beyond 1300, but this isn't the original timid Gohan. This is a Gohan that has been training with the strongest man on Earth for almost half a year. He wasn't starting at a power level of 1, he was starting in the 200s. With his rage in full effect, and with actual fighting experience, Gohan could muster a power easily beyond 2000, and Raditz's scouter reflects that perfectly. Instead of a single headbutt, Gohan begins to run a combo on Raditz and is far exceeding him in every regard until he eventually has Raditz on the ground. Much like with Cell, Gohan's emotions overtake him, and rage manifests itself sadistically. He tortures Raditz, not giving him the satisfaction of death. Eventually, a Makanko Seppo runs through Raditz's chest, and Piccolo tells Gohan, "Don't play with your food, boy." Unfortunately, Piccolo was in no position to be making orders. Gohan knocks out the Demon King quickly, saying that he knows Piccolo isn't a stand-up guy either. On the ground, Raditz coughs up blood, still alive and laughing. "Not bad, child, but my partners are far stronger than you. And without Kakarot, you'll perish at their hands. Mark your calendar. 1 year from now, you and all life on this miserable rock will meet its end." Gohan snarls and tells Raditz that they can bring his father back to life, pointing to the ball on his head. But the same won't happen for him. Of course, Vegeta and Nappa heard this all on the other end of their scouters and were going to head to Earth, not to redeem or revive Raditz, but to collect the Dragon Balls for themselves. As Roshi, Bulma, and Krillin arrive at the scene of the fight, Goku's body is teleported away to the afterlife, where he can begin training on Snake Way and King Kai's planet as he did originally. But Gohan and the others would have different plans in this version of events. Kami could sense Gohan's power against Raditz, and while Goku did a decent job training him, Gohan would need to be better refined for the battle that was to come. Kami enters the minds of everyone at the battlefield and tells Gohan, as well as the other Z fighters, to make their way to the lookout. The fate of the world depends on it. Roshi, Krillin, and Bulma go to board their aircraft and ask if Gohan is coming too, but he says he'll take the Kinto-Un directly to Kami's while they go get the other Z fighters. As the others leave, Gohan calls the Kinto-Un and looks down at the now unconscious Piccolo. Goku always told Gohan that Piccolo's a bad guy, but he's definitely not as bad as his father. With only slight hesitation, Gohan picks up Piccolo and carries him on the Kinto-Un all the way to Kami's lookout. Even if he wasn't the nicest person, they'd probably need him for when the Saiyans arrive. When Gohan arrives on the lookout, Kami and Popo are in a state of panic. Not only was Piccolo here, but he was far too strong for either of them to contend with, and Gohan's rage-boosted power had settled back down in the 200s. not nearly enough to fight off Piccolo when he awakens. Gohan ignored their panic in a moment of naivety, truly showing how he's far more like his father in this version of events, and slapped Piccolo's face a couple of times to wake him up. Piccolo begins to open his eyes and stand up. Kami and Popo are still standing back in fear, but Piccolo was equally terrified, scared of what Gohan had planned for him since his energy was low from fighting Raditz. Kami could easily use the Mafuba to trap him in a jar at this point, and he'd have no way to escape it. However, Gohan didn't want to do that. He tells Piccolo that a threat far greater than Raditz was on its way to Earth. 2 Saiyans would arrive in a year, and they'd need to train. He brought Piccolo to the lookout to train alongside the other Z-Fighters. Kami at this point is already aware of Raditz being sent to the afterlife, meaning that Piccolo's status as a demon has been revoked. Kami decides to make his way towards Piccolo and Gohan to the chagrin of Mr. Popo. Once he approaches them, Kami tells Piccolo that due to the circumstances, he'd allow him to train on the lookout for the upcoming threat to the world. So, a tenuous pact between God and the Demon King was formed. Piccolo knew he needed to train alongside the Earthlings as much as the Earthlings knew they needed Piccolo. Training would be much different from the original version of events, but not just because of Piccolo being at the lookout. While this would further fortify Piccolo and the humans, I find the biggest change is that Gohan is emotionally ready to train and fight. The 6 months that Piccolo used just to get Gohan to a point where he was ready to train aren't required in this version of events. This means that Piccolo was forced to do limited training during the first 6 months of the original version of the Saiyan arc, and in this version, not only is Gohan mentally ready for training, but physically he's ready as well. And so, training begins. A year remains before the Saiyans arrive on Earth. But that's a story for the next part. Thank you so very much for watching.